Welcome to the discussions on the finite element methods. In the previous video, we have discussed in part 1 about the one-dimensional two-node elements. There we have seen the fundamentals, derivation of the shape functions, and followed by the stress-strain relationship matrix. In the second part, we have seen the potential energy approach. We have seen the derivations of the element stiffness matrix, element body force vector, element traction force vector, followed by the assembly of global stiffness matrix and global load vector, and also the properties of the element stiffness matrix. In today's discussions, we shall see the treatment of boundary conditions in this third video. Right? This is how the students now the boundaries they need to be taken care in the equilibrium. Therefore, there is what called treatment of boundary conditions. The specified boundary conditions can also be dealt, means QP1 is equal to A1 dash dash QPR is equal to AR, can also be dealt with the second approach, which is penalty approach, right? There, within the penalty approach also, we can treat two types of boundary conditions, students. One, the specified boundary conditions, as we have seen here, QP1 is equal to A1 dash dash up to QPR is equal to or even the penalty approach can also be used for treatment of multi-constraint boundary conditions, whereas elimination approach cannot be used for treatment of multi-constraint boundary conditions. Only penalty approach can be used. Now, let us see. The first discussion is penalty approach for specified boundary conditions. That is how degrees of freedom QP1 is equal to AR dash dash QPR is equal to AR are specified. Then I want to get the unknown displacements. Then how it will be done in penalty approach. Right? Now I'll show like the student, right? You please see that here this structure is resting on the rigid boundary, right? Let's assume that this is a structure resting on the rigid boundary. Then in the penalty approach, what now we'll do is in between the structure and the rigid boundary, over which a rigid boundary or whatever the boundary, right, over which it is resting, will introduce a spring having a stiffness of C. The value of the stiffness of this spring, what we are introducing in between the structure and the boundary, where the boundary conditions are specified. Let us say the first boundary is specified as QP1 is equal to A1. Students, then at that point, what now I'll do is I'll introduce a spring of huge stiffness. The C value is very, very huge compared to that of the stiffness of the structure. Therefore, this huge stiffness is like penalizing the structure, hence called penalty approach. I'm penalizing along the degrees of freedoms. I'm using a penalty, huge penalty, right, in the form of stiffnesses of the springs C, notated by stiffness of the spring as C, whereas the stiffness of the structure is notated by capital K, structural stiffness matrix, global stiffness matrix, capital K. Right? Then that is how the treatment of the boundary condition is done. Right? And it is already given that QP1 is equal to A1. Right? QP1 is equal to A1 means actually this is A1, but during modeling I'll get Q1, right? That is how the deformation of the structure, right? After deformation I'll get Q1. Hence there is a relative displacement. Actually QP1 must be equal to A1, but I'm not getting Q1 is equal to A1 because this is, after all, finite element method will give an approximate solution. Therefore, always there is some error between these two. Q1 minus A1 is always some error will be there. Hence, or there is what called relative displacement between these two displacements, right? Right? There is what Q1 minus A1, but this is having a stiffness of C. Hence, the strain energy For exact solutions, Q1 must be equal to A1, but in FEM, Q1 will never be equal to A1. There is always some error, and so that error is Q1 minus A1, or that error is the relative displacement. Relative displacement that leads to the strain energy. The strain energy due to that relative displacement is given by half C multiplied by Q1 minus A1 whole square. But we already know the coming to the top, the formulations using potential energy or strain energy concepts. We already know that the total potential energy notated by pi. Previously, it was only half capital Q transpose KQ minus Q transpose F without any penalty. But now I already had a penalty in the form of stiffness of this spring, because of which this much of strain energy is coming into picture. Hence, this is how the modified strain energy is original strain energy of the structure plus strain energy because of the relative displacement. Half C Q1 minus A1 whole square is the total strain energy. Summation of these two is what called total strain energy plus work potential. Q transpose multiplied by F. Q transpose multiplied by F. Therefore, this is what called the modified potential energy. This is modified because of introduction of this stiffness C. Stiffness C for modeling the boundary. Modeling the boundary as QP1 is equal to A1. That once I do that, because the potential energy has also changed, then the initial equilibrium equations KQ is equal to F will also change to modified stiffness matrix multiplied by Q is equal to modified load vector. Because of this, this will also change to KMQ Q is equal to FM. Now, but in the now we'll use the minimum potential energy approach to get the degrees of freedoms which are unknown. That is mathematically written as dou pi divided by dou q I is equal to 0 as per the minimum potential energy approach, so that I'll get kq is equal to f. Similarly, I'm doing dou pi m divided by dou qi is equal to 0. Now I'll get km multiplied by q is equal to fm. This is what the modified equilibrium equations because of introduction of the spring in the form of huge penalty, right? We'll see that it's a numeric value also, right? Then once I do this dou pi m divided by dou qa is equal to 0, now we'll also come across with this term dou by dou q1, because dou q1 is equal to dou p1 is equal to specified as a1, the differentiation of this strain energy because of relative displacement half C q1 minus a1 whole square. But with respect to q1 means now I'll get this 2 gets cancelled, C multiplied by q1 minus C multiplied by a1. But you please see that C multiplied by q1, right? It will go, it will, because still q1 is unknown. From the solution I'll get q1 also, right? C multiplied by q1, this will be added to on the left hand side kq, whereas this c multiplied by a1, a1 is already specified, so many mm, so many inches, so many foot, so many meters, right? This is already specified, that multiplied by this constant stiffness matrix in the form of penalty. It is already constant. Therefore, this is what called the penalty force. This will be added to the other side, to the global load vector. Now it will, if it goes to the other side, it will become plus CA1. That is how it is added to the existing force F1 along that first degree of freedom plus CA1, right? And this will be added to CQ1. Please see that because you have modeled along the first degree of freedom, then K11 has modified to plus contribution from the modeling plus C, right? That is how the first row operated upon the first columns. K11 plus C multiplied by Q1, K12 multiplied by Q2 dash dash, K1n multiplied by Qn is equal to F1 plus CA1. That is how the first row. Like that, I'll get doing that. I'll get dou by dou P2 of this, right? Like that, dou by dou QR of this, I'll get the second, third, and as well as nth, right? Kn1, Kn2 dash dash up to Kn plus Knn plus constant plus constant is a because of that stiffness C that operate upon this Q1, Q1, Q2 dash dash Qn is equal to Fn plus C multiplied by an, which is already known. There is the modified stiffness matrix operate upon the unknown displacement vector. Still Q1 is unknown. Though QP1 is equal to A1. From the solution, I'll get Q1 must be approximately equal to A1 only, right? There is a on the right hand side modified load vector, then modified load vector. That is how. Now at the end you can check that after solving this you'll get Q1 also, but there's already that is approximately equal to A1. If that is true, then only your solution is correct. Otherwise, your solution is wrong. Similarly, if you have assumed that previously QP2 is equal to A2, then now Q2 is approximately equal to A2. That is how you go on checking along the specified degrees of freedom. And once you check that your solution is correct, then you can get the reactions along the specified boundary conditions as R1 is equal to minus C multiplied by that Q1 minus A1, because that is a relative displacement multiplied by that spring will give the reaction in the opposite direction, minus with minus, right? Now the second degree of freedom also, R2 is equal to minus C multiplied by Q2 minus Q1 dash dash RR is equal to minus C multiplied by QR minus AR, right? Then what should be the value of C, right? Now that in the initial K matrix, what are the maximum Kij value is there? You take that value, Kij, you take that value. Now let us see that if I operate this matrix K modified over this Q is equal to F modified. Now I'll get K11 multiplied by K11 plus C multiplied by Q1, K12 multiplied by Q2 dash dash K1N multiplied by Qn is equal to F1 plus CA1. The same equation is written here. But you please see that if I divide on either side by C, now I'll get K11 multiplied by C divided by C is equal to 1 multiplied by Q1, K12 divided by C, Q2 dash dash up to K1N divided by C multiplied by Qn is equal to F1 divided by C plus A. F1 divided by C plus A. But already you got some solution saying that Q1, after solving that, you got Q1 is equal to some result, which is approximately equal to A1, not exactly equal to. A1 is already specified, but you got a result which is near to that specified value, right? Specified value. And so, what now will say is that uh, if that obtained solution is correct, then this ratio K11 divided by C should tend towards 0. Then only Q1 multiplied by 1 is equal to QP1 or Q1, right? That then similarly K12 divided by C tend towards 0. Then only 0 multiplied by Q2, 0 multiplied by Qn, right? Means there are no contribution from all this. Even there is no contribution from this term. Only contribution is there from Q1 multiplied by 1 is then must be equal to A1, must be equal to A1. Then this term, the first term on the right hand side, must also keys. You should diminish that tend towards 0 means F1 divided by C must tend towards 0. All this happens if and only if the denominator C is a huge value, very, very huge value, students, right? Therefore, then this K11 divided by that what are the coefficient divided by this huge value is very small value. Therefore, 1 plus very, very small value, 1 plus 0.00003 is almost equal to approximately equal to 1. That is how I can say, right? Similarly here, right? 0.00013 plus A1 is almost approximately equal to A1. Means they tend towards 0. Then only our obtained solution is correct, otherwise wrong. Hence, from this now I can say that if that is true, then C value must be very large enough. How much large enough its quantity is that What are that maximum coefficient k11, k12, like that, kij, any one of these maximum coefficient you try to get maximum coefficient and you multiply that with 10 to power 4, 10 to power 4, right? Then even similarly 10 to power 5, 10 to power 6 may also be tried, but bare minimum is 10 to power 3, 10 to power 4, 10 to power 4, right? If you multiply 10 to power 4, then that much of means 10 to power 4 means 1, 2, 3, 4 zeros, 4 zeros are there, means 10,000 times more. 10,000, 10 to power 4 is nothing but 10 multiplied by 10 to power 3 means 10,000 times more stiffness. Therefore, you cannot compare one unit stiffness with 10,000 unit stiffness. There is a lot of difference. Means that structural stiffness matrix is so less stiff that compared to that of the stiffness of this uh, modeling, because of this penalty approach is so huge, right? So huge, right? That is how the C value is huge value when multiplied with 10 to the power 4 with that maximum Kij value. Then now I hope you understood the penalty approach for specified boundary condition students. Then if you understood that, now let us move to an application problem. One application problem we'll see later on. I'll also see another application problem, right? Then this is how one the the problem has determined the nodal displacements, stresses, and reaction forces for a bar shown in figure using the penalty approach. Right? Now you please see that here this is a stepped bar. That first element is of that of the aluminium, and its properties are given that its area is equal to 2400 mm square and length is equal to 600 mm, and Young's modulus E1 is equal to 0.7 10 to the power 5 Newton per mm square. What is given is 70 10 to the power 9 Newton per meter square. But you make all the units consistent. In order to make that consistent, now I'll say that I'm taking the units in terms of Newton mm, hence this Newton meter square will become 0.7 10 to the power 5 Newton per mm square. Newton per mm square. Like that, it is having an intersection with that of the second element, right? It is having, this member is having a second element as steel, having an area of 600 mm square, length as 400 mm, and Young's modulus as 210 Newton per mm square. Newton per mm square. That is how two elements of different material properties. Heterogeneous problem is not, is a heterogeneous problem, or of different material properties can also be solved using FEM. There is advantage of FEM, students, right? There is advantage of FEM, right? Then there is how I'll say the discretization is done because there is a quite different material. I'll say this as the first element. This is quite different material, steel. I'll say this as the second element. Now, because of that, even if the cross sections are also same, then also I must have a node here, because at this node a load of P is equal to 200 newtons is acting. 200 newtons is acting. Sorry, 200 kilonewtons is acting. 200 kilonewtons is acting. Right? Then now I'll do the discretization. In the discretization, this first element is having the node 1 to 2, good node numbering. Then this node 2 is at the intersection of the first element with that of the second element, satisfying the one requirement. And also this is also taking care of this load. Wherever there is a load, there must be a node. Wherever there is a change in area, there must be a node. And wherever there is a change in material, there must be a node. It is this node 2 is satisfying all the three criteria, right? And at the starting of the geometry, there must be a node number 1. At the end of the geometry, there must be a node number 3. That is how good node numbering 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3 are given students, right? Once I do that, the element connectivity table establishes the relation between the local and global degrees of freedom. the local first and second degree of freedom that of the first element are global degrees of freedoms 1 and 2. Similarly, the first and second local degrees of freedoms of that of the second element are global degree of freedom 2 and global degrees of freedom 3 respectively. Now, here, next step is evaluation of the element stiffness matrices. We already explained in the previous volume. I'll skip off. Therefore, K1 is nothing but A1 E1 divided by L1. 1 minus 1, 1 minus 1, 1. Now, substituting numeric values. A is this 2400 mm square, and E is equal to 0.745, and L is equal to 600. Now, I'll get 10 to the power 6 taken common as coefficient 0.56 minus 0.6 minus 0.56 along 1 to degrees of freedoms in terms of Newton per mm. The output is in terms of Newton per mm. Right? Similarly, I'll evaluate the element stiffness matrix for the second element, which is given by A2 E2 divided by L2, 1 minus 1 minus 1. Substituting numeric values, I'll get 10 to the power 6 taken outside as coefficient 0.3 minus 0.3 minus 0.3 along second and third degrees of freedoms in terms of Newton per mm. Once I evaluate the element stiffness matrices, now I'll assemble the global stiffness matrix K as summation of all K is E is equal to 1 to 3. There are 3 degrees of freedoms, else K is 3 by 3. You open a 3 by 3 matrix here. By taking 10 to the power 6 outside common, I'll get 0.56 minus 0.56 minus 0.56 minus 0.56 contributions from the element stiffness matrix 1, and these are the contributions from the element stiffness matrix 2 overlapping at the second K22 coefficient, right, plus 0.3 minus 0.3 minus 0.3 minus 0.3, which gives 10 to the power 6, 0.56 minus 0.560 minus 0.56, 0.86 minus 0.3, 0 minus 0.3, 0.3. You please see that this K is a symmetric matrix, right? It is symmetric. This 0.456 is there here, 0 is there here, this minus 0.3 is there, therefore it is perfectly symmetric matrix, students, right? Now, here we'll not use that equilibrium equation KQ is equal to F in the direct form, but it will be used in the modified format. It will be used in the modified format. How how is that? First, I'll get what should be the numeric value of that stiffness along with the degrees of freedom are specified, right? Now, it is given by this maximum of any Kij, If you see here, the maximum Kij numeric value out of this K11, K12 dash dash, K21, K22 dash dash, K dash dash up to K3 thing, this 0.86 is the maximum coefficient, student, multiplied by 10 to the power 6. I'll just recall that value of maximum Kij, and I'll multiply that 0.86 10 to the power 6 with 10 to the power 4. Therefore, this is means that stiffness value is multiplied with 10,000 more stiffness, 10,000 times more stiffness in terms of Newton per mm, which is 8,600 10 power 6 taken outside common Newton per mm. Means in that FEM modeling of that FEM using penalty approach looks like this, right? Wherever the degrees of freedoms are specified, right? Here, the Q1 is equal to 0 actually, right? There you insert a spring between the end of the first element and the starting of the boundary. Actually, there is no space. It is just an assumption that we are inserting. Actually, there is here, right? That is how modeling using penalty approach. Then similarly, um, here Q3 is equal to 0, actual boundary condition. Therefore, now you insert a spring of huge stiffness, whose numeric value is equal to C, between the end of this element 2 and the starting of the rigid boundary at the right side at support. That is how the FEM model using penalty approach is shown here, right? Now, we already know that the left support cannot yield, the right support cannot yield. Therefore, A1 is equal to 0, A3 is equal to 0. These are what? From the boundary conditions. These are the specified boundary conditions. Hence, now I'll go to the modified equilibrium equations. I'll not use the original equilibrium equation, students. We'll use original equilibrium equations in elimination approach, but not in the penalty approach. In the penalty approach, I'll use the modified equilibrium equations, which is given by Km multiplied by Q is equal to Fm, right? That is how that Km is nothing but original K plus C multiplied by A1. That is how C multiplied by A1. Sorry, I'm sorry. In K11 plus C K11 was already 0.56. Now that is having a contribution from this 0.56. Now to which this much of huge 8600 when taken 10 to the power 6 outside common is added because of the penalty along the specified first degree of boundary conditions. 8600 is added, right? And also that same 8600 will be added to that last row and last column, because that is third degree of freedom means K33. Here also I'll add zero point 0.3 original K value K33, to which this penalty plus C 8600 is added, right? Therefore this is added along the first degree of freedom, along the second degree of freedom, along the diagonal elements, not along the other elements. That is how modified stiffness matrix is obtained. That multiplied by Q, that multiplied by Q is equal to modified load vector. Modified load vector. Let us see what is that modified load vector. Original load vector at the first degree of freedom, there is no external load acting. Along the second degree of freedom, yes, 200 kilonewtons was acting. Therefore, 203 newtons is already there. And along the third degree of freedom, there is no external load acting. Zero. That is how 203 zero from original load vector, original global load vector. And because of this penalty, because of this modeling using penalty approach, now I do have contributions from the spring, right? This spring is also contributing by C multiplied by A1, but C is a huge value 8600 but 10 to the power 6, but A1 in the reality A1 is equal to 0, hence multiplied by 0 means there is no contribution by this spring on the modified stiffness matrix. Similarly, here there is no degree of freedom modeled at the node 2. There is no plus C multiplied by A2. But at the third node, we have modeled using a spring that is contributing as C multiplied by A3. But A3 is also 0. Hence, no contribution to the third force also. That is how the modified load vector itself is original global load vector. I think now it gives three simultaneous equations, right? This operated upon this operated upon this operated upon this operated upon this first equation. Like that, you'll get operating this row over this column. The second equation, operating this row over the third column, you'll get the third equation. These three equations are respectively shown here. Solving these three simultaneous equations, I'll get the result as the displacement vector. The displacement vector is the Q1. These are the three simultaneous equations, right? Solving which I'll get Q1 is equal to 15.1432 to the power minus 6 inch. Second, Q2 is equal to 0.23257 inch. Third one is 8.1127 10 power minus 6 inch. But let us examine whether we got the correct results or not. Let me check. Compared to that QP2 at the intersection of these two elements, I got 0.23257. Compared to this numeric value, this 15.143 10 to the power minus 16 or 8.11 10 to the power minus 16 is very, very small. You please see here, right? What is that? 15.143 10 to the power minus 6 means 0.00001514, right? 1514 means here 1, 2, 3, 4. Here at this decimal 7 onwards, these are coming into picture. Hence, compared to that here, let us see 8 means after 5 decimals, I am getting the 6th decimal means even here means compared to that, compared to this quantity, these are very negligible. Means I'll say that they tend towards 0. Means hence the check that yes, along the first degree of freedom, that indicates that that is a rigid support. Yes, correct answer. means that is not yielding, or that is yielding by very small amount, right? Like that, the last support is also yielding by a small amount. Hence, I got the correct result. Then now I'll evaluate the stresses. Element stiffness matrix is given by sigma is equal to EBQ, where B is element stress strain relationship matrix given by 1 by L minus 1 1, and Q is the nodal displacement vector. For the first element, the nodal displacement vector is given by Q1 Q2 from element connectivity table, substituting all these numeric values, right? E is equal to 0.7 multiplied by 10 to the 5 divided by L is equal to 600 for the first element minus 1 1, and Q1 Q2. These results now I'll get upon multiplication minus 1 multiplied by this, 1 multiplied by this, as 54.27 Newton per mm square, plus indicates tension. Doing the same for the second, I'll get element stiffness matrix E2 multiplied by B multiplied by Q2, small q2, but small q2 is nothing but related between the second and third degree of freedom. Substituting all these numeric values, I'll get minus 116.23, sorry, 29 Newton per mm square. This minus indicates compression. It is obvious that the third node is having a fixed boundary condition. Therefore, the second element cannot move beyond node 3. Hence, that is under compression between node 2 and node 3. Node 3, that is under compression like this. Is under compression like this. Under compression. Whereas the first element is trying to elongate, and that elongation is leading to compression of this second element like this. Second element, right? So, hence, the nature of the stress is also correct. Hence, the correctness of the answers. Then finally, I'll get what are the reactions along the specified boundary conditions. Reaction 1 is equal to minus C multiplied by Q1 minus A1, but I got Q1 very small value, that minus actual value from the boundaries. I'll say that that boundary is a rigid boundary, hence it won't yield is actual value. But I got from FEM this approximate solution Q1 15.143 to 10 to the power minus 6, which is approximately equal to 0, but don't say 0. If that is 0, 0 minus 0, there is no reaction. Don't say this is equal to 0. Don't neglect that, because I am multiplying that with huge stiffness. When the small displacement with huge stiffness will lead to a reaction force of 130.23 10 to the power 3 newtons or 130.23 kilonewtons, which is minus, means acting in the left direction. Minus indicates acting in the left direction. Similarly, the reaction at the third boundary is minus C multiplied by Q3 minus A3, which is equal to minus 8600 by 10 to the power 6, Q3 8.1127 10 to the power minus 6 minus A3, because that is rigid support is equal to 0. That gives minus 69.77 kilonewtons. Minus indicates acting in the left direction. That is how this minus 67.77, this first at the first boundary I have minus 130.23. Therefore, this plus this is equal to, its summation is equal to 200 acting in the left direction, but already for the equilibrium already at the node 2, 200 kilometers is acting in the right direction. That is how the free body diagram. Hence, I got the statics check that the sum of the forces acting in the left direction is equal to sum of the forces acting in the right direction. Hence, the equilibrium is achieved. Right? That is how the students application of the penalty approach to one application problem. Right? Now, I hope you are understanding, students. Let us see the application of penalty approach to a specified boundary condition with another numeric problem where the displacements are specified like this. Right? Now, let us examine this problem. Right? For a bar as shown in the figure, determine the nodal displacements, evaluate the stresses, and evaluate the reaction forces by taking the Young's modulus as 2 to the power 4 Newton per mm square, 20 to the power 3 Newton per mm square. The load acting at the mid length of this bar of uniform cross section is 60 kilonewton. Use penalty approach. What is given is Particularly, it is given that you use penalty approach. Then what now I'll do is, that is how I'll discretize the continuum into two parts. Two parts are two elements. That is how the first element between first and second degree of freedom are nodes, and the second element is between second and third degree of freedom are nodes. Here the node numbering is given from left to right, 1 2 3, and element connectivity table. So local node number or local degrees of freedoms 1 and 2, that are the first element, are connected between the global degrees of freedoms 1 and 2. Similarly, local 1 and 2 degrees of freedoms for the second element are connected between this first degree of freedom is second degree of freedom for the entire structure. This second degree of local degree of freedom for the second element is the third degree of freedom. Third degree of freedom means this is Q1, capital Q2, capital Q3, capital Q3. That is how element connectivity table is written. Area of this entire 1D uh, bar problem is constant. In the previous problem, we have seen that area was varying. Material was also varying. Here, area is same. Young's model is also same. But what is given here is that at the end of the node or at the end of this continuum, this 1D bar element which is hinged at the left end, which is applied with a constant force of P at the midpoint, is in equilibrium with the load in satisfying the boundary conditions at node 1. But what is given in the problem is that end 3 is free. End 3 is free, is free. But what is also given in the problem is that after a gap of 1.2, there is a rigid boundary. There is a rigid boundary. Means the gap between that end of the node 3 and the rigid boundary is only 1.2 mm gap. 1.2 mm gap. Then that is how the boundary condition is specified. Boundary condition is specified. Once that boundary condition is specified, then we'll say that we'll do the uh, simple calculations from strength of materials, right? Then that is how I'll take the free body diagram of that first element of length 150 mm, 150 mm, which is acted upon by a tension force of 60 kilonewtons. Hence, the extension of this first element is delta L is PL. L is 150 A, area of that element. First element is 250 mm square, and Young's modulus is equal to 200 power 4. Doing which I'll get the extension. The right hand side direction is 1.8 mm. 1.8 means if this element is applied with a 60 kilonewton load, it will try to expand by an amount of 1.8 mm. 1.8 mm. Right? The element 1 will be under tension. But what is happening? End of this element 1. Therefore, the same extension will try to be continued till node 3, because now in the element 2 there is no force. Because whatever the force was there was the tension force in the element 1. The element 2 is not experiencing any force as of now, because it is having a free space of 1.2. Therefore, now this node 3 will try to move by an amount of 1.8. But all of a sudden, once it moves by an amount of 1.2, it encounters a rigid boundary. Then onwards, it will not move. It will encounter. Then obviously at that point of time onwards, that member 2 or element 2 will undergo compression. Till then, element 2 will not experience any force. That is called null member, no force. Only element 1 is under tension. Element 2 was not experiencing any force. But once it touches the rigid boundary, then it now undergoes compression like this. Even you can see this demonstration, students, right? That is how it is experiencing a compression force, right? That is how, because it's displacement is restricted now. It want to displace by 1.8 mm or 1.8 mm, but only permitted is 1.2. Therefore, still 0.6 is not permitted. Because of that, the boundaries leading to a reaction force of uh, R, because of which the element is experiencing a compression force, right? That is how the element, after displacing by amount of 1.2 only, will be under compression. Till then, that is not experiencing any force. Right now, next here the node 1 is hinged. Hence, what is already given in the problem, because that is hinged, that a1 is equal to 0. A1 is specified as 0. And also just now we have seen that the node 3 will try to move by an amount of 1.8 mm, 1.8 mm, but it is not permitted by that much of amount. Only how much is permitted? 1.2 only, 1.2 only. Hence the specified boundary condition is that a3 is equal to 1.2, 1.2, 1.2. A1 is equal to 0 and A3 is equal to 1.2, 1.2. This is how the degrees of freedoms are specified. Now we are there in penalty approach. So then I'll calculate first element shiftness matrix. We already discussed in the previous problem that I'll formulate element shiftness matrix for the first element given by this equation, AE divided by L 1 minus 1 along the first and second degree of freedom. It gives 33.3 to the power 3, 1 minus 1 minus 1 1. Similarly, the second element is also the same area, same Young's modulus and same length. Because of that, even now I'll say K1 is equal to K2, second element shiftness matrix also. Now, the next one is assembly of double shiftness matrix. Capital K is nothing but 33.3 10 power 3, 1 minus 1 minus 1, 1 plus 1, 2, minus 1, 1. Then that becomes 2. That is how 3 by 3 matrix is evaluated along first, second, third degrees of freedoms. First, second, third degrees of freedoms. But we are there in penalty approach. Hence, will not use this equilibrium equation. KQ is equal to F, but I'll use modified KMQ is equal to FM, right? Now, out of that, we can see that the maximum coefficient of Kij, just now shown in the previous slide, that 200 to the power 5 was the heaviest value. That divided by 10 to the power 3. That divided by 3 is the uh, maximum value of Kij. Now you multiply that with 10 to the power 4. Hence, in the penalty approach, the value of the spring constant along which the degrees of freedoms are specified is given by C is maximum Kij, which is 200 power 5 divided by 3 multiplied with 10 power 4, 10,000 more stiffness, 10,000 times more stiffness. That is now equal to 200 power 5 by 3 taken outside common, 200 power 4 Newton per mm. Now that is how that K, which was K1 minus 1 minus 1 2 minus 1 1 1, is modified using this penalty approach along the specified degrees of boundary condition, along the specified degrees of freedom. Now I am having 200 power 4 additional stiffness is 20,000 student, right? It is 20,000, right? Is added here. Similarly, along the fourth degree of freedom also, that 200 power 4 20,000 is added. Therefore, this K33 is 20,000 plus 1, 20,001. Similarly, this K11 is equal to 20,001. The other coefficients are very small, minus 1, 0, minus 1, 0, right? Compared to that, 20,001, this 1, 1, 2 are negligible, very, very negligible, right? Or we can say that compared to that huge stiffness, this stiffness is very flexible, opposite word, right? That is all. Modified stiffness matrix. operated upon displacement vector q1, q2, q3 is nothing but original global load vector 0. No force was specified along the first degree of freedom, but along the second degree of freedom in the positive x direction, 60 kilonewton was acting. Hence, that is 60 multiplied by 10 to the power 3. Along the third degree of freedom, no load was acting, but because of this penalty approach, now what is the change in that load vector is nothing but C value is this much multiplied by A1. C multiplied by A1 along F1. But A1 is already 0 because left end will not yield, because hinged end will not yield. A1 is equal to 0. And let us also go to the the third degree of freedom. Actually, if it were free, it might have yielded by 1.8 mm, but after 1.2 mm, I am having a rigid boundary. Hence, that A3 is specified as 1.2, beyond which it cannot go by rest of the 0.6 mm like this. It cannot go, right? After encountering 1.2 mm, the element 2 is under compression. Element 2 is under compression. Then that is how 1.2 is A3. That multiplied by C is the force because of that penalty. That penalty force plus original force is what the F modified vector. I think now solving here, now I'll get F is equal to 0, 60 kilonewton, and almost see huge value, 8, 800 80,000 kilonewtons, very large value, 800 10 to the power 5 newtons. All these are in terms of newton. That last force is very huge, right? Therefore, solving this, you'll get three simultaneous equations, right? First row operated upon second, this column is equal to 0. Second row operated upon this column is equal to 60 into 10 to the power 3. Third row operated upon this column is equal to third value 800 multiplied by 10 to the power 3. That is how the three equations are written here, students. I hope you can solve these, right? By from the first equation, you can have relation between Q1. It says that what is that, Q2 is equal to how many times Q1. Back substituting that in any one of these two equations, I'll get say Q2, relation between Q2 and Q3, right? Solving with, now I'll get Q1 is equal to 7.49 10 to the power minus 4 mm, right? And back substituting that in either of the any two equations, I'll get Q2 is equal to 1.50045 mm, and back substituting that, now I'll get Q3 is equal to 1.20015 mm, right? Hence, that is how my global displacement vector Q is equal to 7.49 10 to the power minus 4 compared to that of 1.5 or 1.2 mm. This value is very small, is negligible. Therefore, it indicates that left support, though it is modeled using penalty approach, it indicates that that left support is not yielding. Tending towards 0 means it is not yielding. Either it should be a rigid support or it should be a hinged support. Yes, in this case, it is hinged support. Hence, I got the check. Means this Q2 is correct. Also this Q Q3 is also correct. Q3 is also correct, right? That is how I got the correct results. And once I get this, students, now what I'll do is I'll calculate the stresses. The stresses are calculated here using the regular concept, right? Sigma is equal to EBQ. That E is already given for the problem 20 to the power 3. B is 1 by L1 1 by 150 minus 1 Q for the first element is Q1 Q2. Q1 is already just now obtained as 7.49 10 to the power minus 4, very small value, yet it is taken by the same value Q2 1.5 that value, right? It gives the result of upon multiplication I'll get 199.96 Newton per mm square. Plus indicates tension. Therefore, similarly doing the same for the second element, I'll get a compression force of minus 40 MPa, because sigma is equal to EBQ. Q is the Q2 Q3, right? doing which I'll get minus 40.04 MPa. This minus indicates compression. Yes, obviously the pure is once it encounters the rigid support, the second element is under compression, the first element is under tension. Now, let us calculate the reaction forces, right, along the specified degrees of freedoms. Now, I have specified along the first degree of freedom. Therefore, what is the reaction along that degree of freedom? R1 is equal to minus C multiplied by Q1 minus A1. Substituting numeric values, right? Though Q1 is obtained as 7.494 minus 4, right? I'm taking the same value, but that originally it will not yield. It's the actual boundary condition minus A0. From actual structure, I have minus A1 specified as minus 0. Therefore, the small value multiplied by huge stiffness gives approximately minus 49.99 or approximately 50 kilonewton in the opposite direction. Doing the same, I'll get the reaction along the third degree of freedom. R3 is equal to minus C, Q3 minus A3. Q3 is obtained from the FEM solution as 1.20015. But for the original structure, how much of space is available? Specified space is available is only 1.2, right? A3 is specified as 1.2. Yet I got 1.20015. Therefore, correctness of the answer means Q3 is approximately equal to A3. FEM has given a solution as Q3 is equal to 1.20015. But exact answer is 1.2. Hence the correctness of the answer. But yet there is a difference between these two. There is a small difference multiplied with large stiffness gives rise to approximately 10 kilonewton acting in the opposite direction. Right now, I'll check whether that 50 kilonewton plus this 10 kilonewton, which is acting in the form of reactions at the node 1 and node 3, what is that? It's a summation. It is approximately minus 59.99, but already acting in the left direction, but already on the right hand direction at the node 2, a reaction, a force of 60 kilonewton is already acting. Hence, LHS is equal to RHS. Sum of the forces acting in the left hand direction is equal to sum of the right forces acting in the right hand direction. Hence the statics check. Right now, students. Now in the previous problem, if the load P is equal to 40, then the elongation will now work out 1.2, 1.2. Then the element 2 will not be under either compression or tension. But if the load P is equal to 80 kilonewton, then delta L is equal to 1.8, which is greater than 1.2, then the element 2 will be under compression. If the force P is 20 kilonewton, then the extension is equal to 0.6 means, which is much less than the space available 1.2 mm. 1.2 mm means that second element will not be touching the boundary. Hence the second element is a null member. It won't experience any force. That is how, if the forces are changing, there is the change in boundary conditions or specified boundary conditions leading to the change in nature of the stresses in the second element, right? That is how the penalty approach for the specified boundary conditions, students. Now conclude these discussions on one-dimensional elements, right? If you like these discussions, you please uh, try to click a like, share, and subscribe to our YouTube channel. We'll meet once again with another topic of your interest in next video. Till then, bye bye, students. Right? Thank you.